God works through us all. Never think that God can't work through you. In Ezra chapter 1 verse 2 to 3 states, Cyrus the Great's proclamation, where he announces that God, the God of heaven, has given him all the kingdoms of the earth and appointed him to build a temple in Jerusalem. He encouraged any of God's people who are willing to return to Jerusalem to rebuild this temple, entrusting them to God's care. Cyrus was not Jewish, but recognized the power of God and let all those who had been captive and brought into exile in Babylon go back to Judah. Not only did he let them return, but he returned to them all the gold and silver that Nebuchadnezzar had removed from the temple in Jerusalem and brought to Babylon and had placed in the house of his God. This way, he could rebuild the temple and fill it with their sacred vessels. Cyrus was open to the action of God. Within him, we forget that God can use any one of us to be his instrument of grace, which is really, really true. Think about Gandhi and all the good he did in India and by extension to the world, while it is true that many of the people who work and have worked for justice to advance the work of Jesus in the world, to advance the work of Jesus in the world have been Christians, many have not. Also, you don't have to be famous or have an important position to be an instrument for God. We tend to know the names of some of these men and women, such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Mother Teresa of Calcutta. But we don't know the names of the Chinese students who were gathered and or killed in Tiananmen Square, or the civil rights activists in the South in the 60s, but we do know that God was present in their midst and not all of them were Christians. God is also working through us when we give witness in our neighborhoods and our workplaces. With our words and our action, never think that God can't work through you. That's a mistake if you think that God cannot work with you. The God can work. Just believe that. Ezra chapter 1 describes the Babylonian exile ending as the Persian king Cyrus issued a decree allowing the Jewish exiles to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple moved by God. Cyrus facilitates the reconstruction by returning sacred vessels and providing support for the journey and the building project. This decree fulfills Jeremiah's prophecy and marks a new exodus for God's people who are restored to their homeland with willingly contributed resources from their neighbors. The Decree of Cyrus, God's influence. The Persian king Cyrus issues a decree described in the text as being inspired by the Lord, allowing the exiled Israelites to return to Jerusalem. Restoration of vessels. Cyrus also orders the return of the sacred vessels taken by the Babylonians to be used in the rebuilt temple in Jerusalem. The steering of hearts, God's action. God moves the heart of the leaders and the people, specifically the head of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, the priest and the Levites, to undertake the journey back to Jerusalem. willing participation, those who are described as having their spirit stand by God to return and participate in the rebuilding of the temple. Preparation and support from neighboring regions. People in the surroundings area contribute generously with gold, silver, goods, and livestock to support the exiles' freewill offering. These offerings serve as freewill gifts to help the exiles with their journey and the upcoming temple rebuilding project. Significance fulfillment of prophecy. Ezra chapter 1 highlights the fulfillment of the prophecy of Jeremiah. The Israelites would be restored to the Jerusalem after their 70 years of exile. Divine providence. The chapter demonstrates God's power and fulfillment, showing He can work through pagan rulers like Cyrus to accomplish His purpose and restore His people. A new exodus, the return from Babylon captivity, is depicted as a new exodus, mirroring the ancient Egyptian slavery through Persian rule. Gracious God, you motivate your son Cyrus to pray the Israelites to return to Judah and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Please motivate us to be better witness to your love and your goodness. Amen. Thank you.